After 15 years of dedicated service, I was being let go. Just like that. A short meeting, 2 cold smiles, and a manila folder slid across the table. "Elaine, we're restructuring your role," said Marjorie Blake, the head of operations. Denise from HR sat beside her, nodding along, her expression carefully neutral. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just nodded, opened the folder, and saw what I expected, the standard severance terms. 2 weeks of pay per year served, a few months of health coverage, and a list of career coaching resources I'd never use. "I understand," I said quietly, my voice steady. "These decisions are never easy." They looked relieved, as if they had expected me to fall apart. After all, I was a 55-year-old woman in tech, a world that chases youth and energy over experience and insight. Maybe they thought I didn't see it coming. Maybe they believed I'd just disappear quietly. But I had seen this coming. The first clue had arrived weeks ago, a misrouted internal email that hinted at changes to the research division. The language was vague, but the intention was clear. My days were numbered. "Please return your keycard and laptop by Friday," Marjorie added. "Your team will be informed later today." My team? 6 brilliant engineers I had personally recruited and mentored. The same team that helped me design the distributed processing algorithm behind our company's flagship product. As I stood up and shook their hands, I kept my face calm. I had already made peace with this moment. What they didn't know was that I'd been preparing for it. And Friday wouldn't be the end. It would be the beginning. ClearPath Solutions had been my professional home for a decade and a half. I had joined the company when it was a mid-size firm with big dreams and limited infrastructure. I stayed through its evolution, helped shape its research division, and led the development of what became its most valuable product. But somewhere along the way, I had become invisible. They loved my ideas, they praised the results, but in every boardroom presentation, in every press release, it was someone else standing in the spotlight. Usually Victor Hayes, our charming CEO. He once described my contribution as just part of the team's effort during a major industry conference while he accepted an award for our work. Still, I stayed because I believed in the technology, because I cared about my team. That belief was shaken the day I saw the internal strategy memo. It had arrived in my inbox by mistake, buried in a reply-all email chain. The memo discussed plans to consolidate the research division and absorb legacy IP into corporate frameworks. I read those words again and again, and then it hit me. They were preparing to claim the algorithm as company-developed technology without any individual attribution. The distributed processing system I had spent years perfecting, an architecture that enabled real-time data handling at scale, was about to be absorbed, repackaged, and erased from my name. When I raised the issue with our legal team, they assured me the patent filing had been delayed due to backlog and they'd take care of it right away. But something felt wrong. Their response was too casual, too dismissive. So I checked the company's internal documentation and found no record of an official filing. No progress, no plan. That was when I made my decision. I began refining the algorithm after hours working from home, using only personal devices. I created a completely separate, enhanced version that boosted efficiency by over 40%. I documented every step, time-stamped logs, code repositories, even video journals walking through key changes. I knew the rules. Anything created using company time or equipment would belong to them. But this was mine. With help from a trusted friend, Jonathan Miles, the CEO of NovaLogic, ClearPath's top competitor, I secured legal counsel and filed for a personal patent. 2 weeks before they called me into that meeting room, the patent had been approved. They thought they were discarding a quiet, aging engineer. They didn't realize I had already built the foundation for what would come next, in the weeks leading up to my dismissal. Every smile I gave was calculated. Every meeting attended with quiet observation. I kept my head down, answered questions, submitted reports, never letting on that I knew what was coming. Behind the scenes, I was building something stronger. The refined algorithm wasn't just better, it was revolutionary. I redesigned the processing engine to handle distributed tasks 43% more efficiently. That kind of jump wasn't incremental, it was game-changing. And every line of code, every innovation was created during my own time using personal resources. My documentation was airtight. Jonathan had introduced me to a top-tier intellectual property attorney, someone who didn't just understand patents, but understood corporate power plays. Together we filed everything with precision. The application went through in record time. The patent was approved under my name. That Thursday evening, just hours after receiving my severance package, I met Jonathan at a discreet restaurant far from downtown, somewhere no one from ClearPath would go. We had dinner in a private alcove, shielded by paper screens and dim lighting. "They really did it," he said, shaking his head. "I figured it was coming, but to let go of the person who built their core technology?" "Victor never understood what I created," I replied. "He saw the interface, the product, but the architecture, that was just noise to him." Jonathan handed me a folder, clean, concise, powerful. Inside were the licensing documents. NovaLogic would acquire exclusive rights to the patent. I would join the company as Chief Innovation Officer, with a 7-figure signing bonus, equity, and royalties. I read the terms again, though I had already memorized them. "We also have offers prepared for your entire engineering team," Jonathan added. "If they're willing to come on board, we'll give them senior roles with significant raises." I signed on the final page and closed the folder. In one quiet evening, I had reclaimed ownership of my life's work, secured my future, and created a path forward for the people who had stood beside me for years. And Friday would be my last day at ClearPath. And Monday? Monday would be a turning point. Monday morning dawned crisp and quiet, but inside the glass towers of ClearPath Solutions it was anything but peaceful. At precisely 7 a.m. the press release went live. NovaLogic had secured exclusive licensing rights to a revolutionary processing algorithm. The statement was clear, polished, and sharp. Dr. Elaine Carter, the inventor of the technology behind real-time distributed data handling, had joined NovaLogic as Chief Innovation Officer. The release didn't mention ClearPath. It didn't have to. Everyone in the industry knew exactly which product this algorithm powered, AccountLogic. ClearPath's flagship software used that system to run its real-time data processing for over 40% of Fortune 500 companies. At 7:30 a.m., a black car picked me up from my home. I was dressed in a tailored charcoal suit I had bought for this very moment. By 8 a.m., I was sitting in my new corner office at NovaLogic, sunlight pouring in through floor-to-ceiling windows. By 9:15, my phone buzzed. It was Miguel, one of the lead developers from my former team. "Complete chaos here. What did you do?" I smiled and typed back, "Check your personal email, offers are waiting." By 9:30 a.m., according to Miguel's updates, ClearPath's executive team had abandoned their usual Monday meeting and convened an emergency session. Their legal team was tearing through files, contracts, development logs, anything with my name on it. Servers from the research department were being pulled for forensic review. Victor, the CEO, was pacing the halls, demanding explanations. Marjorie, the one who'd handed me the severance papers with a rehearsed smile, now looked pale and frantic. Meanwhile, NovaLogic was already seeing results. Journalists were reaching out for interviews. The tech press had dubbed the move a strategic coup. Investors were reacting too. NovaLogic's stock rose 12% by mid-morning. ClearPath's dropped 7% in the same window. At 10:45, I received an email from Victor himself. No subject line, just a short, desperate message. "Elaine, there appears to be some misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience." I didn't reply. I forwarded it to our legal team. The truth was sinking in. Their top product, their competitive edge, was no longer legally theirs to use, and the only person who could fix it had just walked out their front door with her dignity intact and a legal patent in hand. By lunchtime, all 6 of my former engineers had accepted Novologic's offer. They would start the following Monday. What ClearPath had dismissed as a quiet departure had turned into a full-blown corporate crisis, and I hadn't raised my voice once. I didn't need to. The facts and the paperwork spoke louder than I ever could. By Friday afternoon, exactly 1 week after I walked out of ClearPath Solutions with a cardboard box and my dignity, the company had entered full-blown crisis mode. Their stock had plunged 23% since the press release. Analysts were writing headlines like, "Can ClearPath survive the patent fallout?" and "How one strategic mistake toppled a giant." Major clients were quietly reaching out to Novologic, asking questions about future migration options. Inside ClearPath, the panic was impossible to contain. Miguel's texts gave me a front-row view of the implosion. "They've pulled every server, legal is freaking out, morale is shot, everyone's updating their LinkedIn." At 2 p.m., Victor called an all-hands meeting. He tried to project confidence, claiming they would vigorously defend their proprietary technology. But when someone asked whether the patent had ever been properly filed, the room went silent. Marjorie looked like she was about to faint. Victor ended the Q&A abruptly. That same afternoon, our legal department at Novologic received a message from ClearPath's attorneys. They wanted to open licensing discussions. We had anticipated this. Our response was calm and clear, 3 times the industry standard licensing rate, plus public acknowledgement that I was the sole inventor of the technology. "They'll choke on the acknowledgement more than the cost," Jonathan remarked when we reviewed the draft together. "Victor's ego won't let him admit what he did." "Then they can rebuild it from scratch," I replied. "Let's see how long that takes them." Over the weekend, I led my first strategy retreat with my new innovation team. It included all 6 of my former engineers. The energy in the room was electric. More productive, more creative, and more collaborative than anything I'd experienced in years at ClearPath. "This is what it feels like to be heard," Anita, one of the senior developers, said as we wrapped up a design sprint. On Monday morning, ClearPath made its next move. Victor Hayes resigned, effective immediately. Marjorie and the head of legal followed. The board brought in an interim CEO, Richard Donovan, known for cleaning up messes. His first act, emailing me directly. "Dr. Carter, congratulations on your new position. I'd like to meet and discuss a licensing agreement. We're prepared to publicly recognize your contribution and take responsibility for past missteps." I forwarded the email to Jonathan and our legal team with a simple note, "Phase 1 complete?" His reply came quickly, beautifully executed. In less than 10 days, the company that once dismissed me had lost its leadership, its talent, its product stability, and its credibility. And I hadn't yelled, I hadn't fought, I hadn't threatened. I had simply planned, documented, moved with intention. ClearPath thought they were removing a liability. They had underestimated the quiet power of someone who knew exactly what she had created and what it was truly worth. 3 months after that final walkout of ClearPath's glass doors, I stood on stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference. The room was packed. Industry leaders, reporters, developers, students. Many of them already knew my story, though few had heard it from me directly. Just a year before, I had attended this same event, seated in the back row while Victor gave a keynote about his company's breakthroughs. He hadn't even mentioned my name. "Ow," the announcer read my bio aloud. "Please welcome Dr. Elaine Carter, Chief Innovation Officer at Novologic and creator of the patented algorithm transforming real-time data processing across industries." The applause was warm and genuine. I took a deep breath and stepped up to the podium. "Today, I want to talk about innovation," I began, "but not just the code and the product. I want to talk about ownership, about recognition, and why it matters." I spoke not only about the technical aspects of the algorithm, but about the journey behind it. I didn't name ClearPath, but everyone understood who I meant when I said, too often, companies fail to see the people behind the breakthroughs. After the talk, several young women approached me during the reception. One of them, maybe 30 at most, said something I'll never forget. Your story changed how I handle my work. I started documenting everything I create outside of hours, just in case. I smiled and said, "That's smart. Protect your voice. It's your voice in the world. It deserves a signature." Meanwhile, NovaLogic continued to grow. Under my leadership, we had released 3 major products built on my algorithm, each pushing boundaries. Our market share expanded. More clients migrated to us every month. The industry had taken notice. And ClearPath? They finally signed the licensing deal. They acknowledged me as the technology's creator, publicly. Their stock stabilized but never returned to what it once was. Back at NovaLogic, Jonathan stopped by my office one afternoon with a bottle of champagne. "Happy anniversary," he said. "The board just confirmed it. We've officially surpassed ClearPath in market valuation." I didn't feel triumph. I felt peace. Recognition isn't about revenge. It's about restoring truth, about reminding people that behind every innovation is a name, a story, a lifetime of work. And that deserves to be seen. Looking back, people often ask me if I did it to get even, if my goal was to humiliate those who underestimated me. This was never about revenge. It was about recognition. It was about drawing a line in the sand and saying, "This is mine, I built this, and I won't let you erase me." In any industry, tech, business, art, education, it's easy to become invisible, especially if you're quiet. Especially if you don't play the political game, and especially if you're a woman or over 50, or don't fit the mold of what leadership is supposed to look like. But your work still matters. Your ideas still count. What happened to me could happen to anyone. And that's why I'm sharing this. Not for applause, not for drama, but as a reminder, document everything. Know your rights. Value your own contribution, even when others don't. You don't need to shout to make an impact. You don't need to fight dirty to win. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to walk away with your head held high and a plan. If this story resonates with you or reminds you of something you've experienced, I invite you to share it. Comment below, like, subscribe. Because stories like this need to be told, they remind us all that innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in real lives, with real people who deserve real credit. And if you've ever been overlooked or underestimated, just know this: it's never too late to reclaim your worth. Sometimes, all it takes is one decision, one signature, one moment of quiet courage.